multi-crore memorials being dedicated to Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, Baba Sahib Ambedkar, the cash-starved Maharashtra government is looking at another trust, this time in the name of Bala Sahib Thackeray Memorial Trust. The government is looking at doling out close to 100 crores for this new trust. Now let me remind you, a few months back, in an extravagant manner, the Prime Minister had unveiled the Chhatrapati Shivaji Memorial, which will cost the state government 3,600 crore rupees. Not just this, the Ambedkar Memorial will be costing them 900 crores. Now if we do a rough math of all the three memorials, it will be costing the exchequer close to 4,600 crore rupees. The shocking fact here is that this is a government which has a debt of 3.6 lakh crore rupees. Also, this is the money that taxpayers like you and I have been paying to the government in the form of taxes.
There should be some balance between it, like the roads and the hospitals and everything should be taken care first, and then this can be done. But then the budget, the amount which has been invested right now is too high for that.
1/5 of the money we can spend on the infrastructure for the development of the houses for the poor or people who are staying in slums. If little bit we can do for them, I think that would be even better as compared to the money that we are going to spend on statues.
Yeah, it is a good thing which they are doing, like it is a kind of a memory, but there are a lot of things what they can work on, like there are traffic problems, or maybe you can say they can generate employment with that money or anything like that.
शिवाजी महाराज यहाँ के आराध्य देवता है, उनके लिए सिर्फ मूर्ति ही नहीं है, वो पर्यटन स्थल भी बनेगा.
I think he was a great warrior. He has the best army in the world. So I think that money should be allocated to our defense, our army, probably in his name. That would be a great respect to him rather than, building a statue of him.
Well, that's the big debate. That's the question we're asking this evening. And viewers, allow me to share some numbers with you. Over 3,000 farmers committed suicide in Maharashtra in 2016, the worst number ever. Out of which, only 1,600 families of those farmers have been compensated. The other half remain uncompensated. I want to point out to you that 45,000 children in Maharashtra on last count are dying of malnourishment. 17,000 women and children have already died of malnourishment in the last 1 year. We're talking about a state government that is tremendously in debt at this point and is unable to fulfill its duties because of the lack of funds. Duties like, for example, compensating farmers families of farmers or farmers who committed suicide. Now, in this situation, can we afford to spend the kind of money that the government is talking about on memorials? Or is it simply politics of statues that we're currently talking about? 4,600 crore rupees. Let me point out one more thing. This was a very interesting piece of data that popped up. The Maharashtra government spent 8 crore rupees from the state contingency fund for publicity and advertisement of the Jal Pujan and stone laying ceremony of the Shivaji Memorial in the Arabian Sea when the Prime Minister had visited in December last year. Can we afford to spend that kind of money? 8 crore rupees on publicity of an event? Shouldn't the government of Maharashtra be a little more, if not far more, accountable for the kind of money it's spending? That's the question we're asking this evening. Our phone numbers are on your screen and I want you to be part of this conversation because the conversation of memorials versus actual money spent on dying children is one I'm sure you have an opinion about as well. Call us. In the meantime, in the studio with me, Rajiv Mishra, who's an activist, Indrani Malkani, Managing Trustee of the We Citizens Action Network, Yogesh Verma, spokesperson of the BJP, Shama Kulkarni, Trustee at Agni, Sudhir Suryavanshi is a political analyst, and Swapnil Kothari is a corporate lawyer, Managing Partner of S. Kothari and Company. I want to welcome all of our panelists into this conversation. We'll start off with opening remarks. Indrani Malkani, where do you stand? Dying children, starving children, or big statues?
Well, I think when you talk about statues and living beings, there's not much of a statement to be made here. But I think the first opening statement which you made about the memorial of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, that brings the interesting point here that the great warrior himself was not a flashy person. And what he did was he built forts. Unlike the Mughals, he never built any memorial. So it begs the question that what would be most appropriate tribute to such a warrior? I think the forts that he had built, those forts need a lot of revamp and could become really the talking point for Maharashtra, because after all, we are not talking Mumbai. But I do believe the government has kept aside or is planning to uplift all the forts and renovate those. So I think that is one of the most fitting tribute, and which would remain for much longer time in keeping with who he was and what we should emulate from him. So for him, I think I would take the conversation in that
Sudhir,
side.
where do you stand?
If you see the history of the memorial, first of all, why the memorial thing has come up across the world. When the first world was over, that time to commemorate the soldiers who have fought for the country, Germany, England, France, to commemorate them, to remember them, the memorial thing started coming up.
So actually, Sudhir, because you're a political analyst, let me rephrase my question to you. Do you believe that these memorials announced by the state government for Chhatrapati Shivaji, for B.R. Ambedkar, and for Bal Thackeray are political announcements?
These are all political announcements, as you said earlier. 8 crore rupee was spent on publicity. And the important in this memorial, as I said earlier, after the First World War, it was to commemorate the things. Now we are not commemorate, we are the politicizing the things. That we have to understand. Now the politics is more important than the Shivaji also, than the Ambedkar also, than the Balasaheb Thackeray also. Why this thing has been done? To politicize, to get the political gain. Therefore, all entire thing has been done. The intention, in entire thing, intention is more important. Why all this thing has been done by the, respective parties. When this Shivaji Memorial was, proposed last 20 years back by the Congress and NCP, thing was just, discussed and just talked, but never thing was proposed at the on the ground. But the Sena and, when the BJP took over, and they, by doing Shivaji Memorial, they did a couple of things. First, Shivaji was just like a private property of the Shiv Sena. They snatched the Chhatrapati Shivaji from the Sena.
From the Shiv Sena.
Okay, and another thing is that they related because Shivaji is a great warrior, Maratha great warrior. So most of the Maratha people, relate to Shivaji. So that caste, that community automatically started flocking towards the BJP. The two, in a stone, they kill two birds. And therefore, naturally, when the Prime Minister come for the, Bhumi Pujan, so they spent 8 crore rupees because the BMC election was, during that period. So they they capitalized the entire fund, entire publicity. And I think they have got political gain also in BMC. It is unfortunate that they could not, got the mayor and other plum posts in the BMC. But whatever the number they got it compared to last 31 and today.
Let me ask this question to Yogesh Verma, spokesperson of the BJP. 100 farmers in drought-prone Marathwada have committed suicide in the last 60 days. Maharashtra is facing one of its worst droughts ever. Shouldn't the money be used differently? What is for a state that is in debt?
नहीं, मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि दोनों अलग चीज़ें हैं.
कैसे?
महाराष्ट्र की सरकार ये किसानों के लिए कटिबद्ध है और किसानों के वेलफेयर के लिए उन्होंने जितनी स्कीमें लेकर आए वो आज तक किसी भी सरकार नहीं लेकर आई. जल शिवार योजना के थ्रू ये समस्या हमेशा के लिए समाप्त करना, हर बार किसान को कुछ हो और फिर हर बार उसको कॉम्पनसेशन देना, ये तो एक विषय है ही. लेकिन जल शिवार योजना के थ्रू किसानों का हमेशा के लिए उस समस्या का निदान करना, इसके लिए महाराष्ट्र सरकार ने बहुत सारे एक्शन प्लान किए हैं. दूसरा विषय, ये मूर्तियों का विषय को लेकर के जिस तरह से छोटी सोच का प्रदर्शन हमारे लोग कर रहे हैं, ये ठीक नहीं है.
कौन कर रहा है?
आपने देखा होगा कि आज़ादी के पहले कितना खूबसूरत वीटी स्टेशन बना, आज़ादी के पहले कितना खूबसूरत मनपा का हेड ऑफिस बना. आज भी हम लोग 15 अगस्त 26 जनवरी को उसमें लाइट्स लगाते हैं और वो देखने दिखाने की चीज़ होती है ना. घर तो सबका होता है, लेकिन जरा उसको खूबसूरत बनाना. हमारी 60 सालों में कांग्रेस ने इस देश को स्नेक चार्मर्स का देश और गरीबों का देश बना के रख दिया.
इससे पैसों का क्या लेना देना? अगर आप
पूरी बात मुझे बोलने दीजिए. एक बार पूरी बात बोलने दीजिए.
तो उस घर में
पूरी बात बोलने
दीजिए. बात ये है सर,
वर्ल्ड
बात ये है कि आपके घर में, हमारे घर में अगर बच्चे भूखे मर रहे हैं तो आप पेंट लगाने में पैसे खर्च करेंगे.
बड़े बड़े मॉन्यूमेंट्स से देखिए, जो आपका विषय है ना,
अगर आपके घर में बच्चे भूखे मर रहे हैं तो आप पेंट लगाने में आप पैसे खर्च करेंगे?
देखिए, अगर किसानों के बारे में कुछ हो ही नहीं रहा हो तो आप मुझ पे टीका कीजिए। आज तक 60 सालों में जिन्होंने किसानों का हाल किया उनको तो आपने बुलाया नहीं और वो आए भी नहीं। मैं यहाँ पर आया हूँ अपनी बात रखने के लिए कि किसानों के लिए जितना भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार ने, मोदी सरकार ने और देवेंद्र फडणवीस ने किया, वो 60 सालों में आज तक किसी ने नहीं किया। जहां तक बात है मॉन्यूमेंट्स की, छत्रपति शिवाजी महाराज का मॉन्यूमेंट बनना ये महाराष्ट्र के लिए गौरव की बात है।
मैं बताऊं,
और इसको देखने के लिए पूरे वर्ल्ड के लोग आएंगे।
2016-17 के महाराष्ट्र बजट
बी आर अम्बेडकर जी के मॉन्यूमेंट बनाना ये हमारी जिम्मेदारी है, इस सरकार की जिम्मेदारी है और अच्छे से अच्छा बनना चाहिए।
मैं बताऊं,
बाला साहब ठाकरे ये इस महाराष्ट्र के राजनीति के बहुत बड़े युग पुरुष है, उनके बारे में भी अच्छे से अच्छा, बड़े से बड़ा मॉन्यूमेंट बनाना ताकि पूरा वर्ल्ड इसको रिकॉग्नाइज करे।
सुधीर सूर्यवंशी का कहना है कि
इसका मैसेज पूरे विश्व में पहुंचे। आप हर बात को पॉलिटिक्स से देखेंगे, इसका मतलब ये हो गया कि पुराने जमाने में अगर कोई चीज बनाए तो उस वक्त की राजनीति के हिसाब से बनाए, क्या उस वक्त के वोट के लिए बनाए? क्या कुछ करना ही नहीं चाहिए इस देश में? इस देश को जैसा पड़ा है वैसा ही रहना देना चाहिए? आप कोई भी एग्जाम्पल कहीं पर भी चिपका करके आप कोई भी योजना को रोकने की कोशिश करेंगे? ऐसे ही जब वहां पर कोस्टल रोड की बात होती है तब कोई चला आता है कि अरे वहां से मछुआरे नहीं निकलेंगे।
अच्छा, योगेश वर्मा जी, ठीक है। तो मुझे एक बात समझाने दीजिए अपने ऑडियंस को। 2016 के महाराष्ट्र की बजट में the allocation to women was 367 crore rupees in comparison to what we are spending right now there on your screen on memorials. The allocation to girl children from poor families was 25 crore rupees. Assistance for widows and deserted women was 330 crore rupees. Assistance on public health was 1,500 crore rupees. Education was 700 crore rupees in comparison to what we're looking at here. Also, let me point out that from the previous year, from 2015-16, where education was allotted 1,600 crore rupees, it came down to 700 crore rupees. We've cut that allocation by half because we do not have the money for education, or we do not believe education is important enough. And let me point out to you, there are girls in schools in Maharashtra who are dying. And there is a commission that has asked questions of the Maharashtra government on why these girls in the schools are dying. We're not even talking about the fact that they're not being fed or they're not being taught. They're dying. This is the state of affairs. Farmers are dying. Children are dying. And my question back again to Mr. Yogesh Verma, who pointed out a very beautiful thing, is that you want to make your home more beautiful today than it was yesterday. But if there are children in my home who are dying of starvation, my priority should be different. If my resources are limited, which they obviously are, if I only have 100 rupees, am I going to use that 100 rupees to paint my house and make it look more beautiful? Or am I going to use it to feed the children who are dying of starvation? Swapnil Kothari.
योगेश जी, मैं आपको एक बात बताना चाहूँगा कि आप बोल रहे थे कि सब लोग एक पॉलिटिक्स की नज़र से इसको देख रहे हैं। मैं आर्थिक रूप से देखना चाहता हूँ इसको। आई वुड लाइक टू लुक एट इट फ्रॉम द इकोनॉमिक पर्सपेक्टिव. Do we have enough resources to build such huge-scale memorials? I do not want to invite the world to look at the memorials. I want them to see that how sound my country is economically, in the sense that whether I have people, first they have the three basic necessities of life, that is clothes, food and shelter. Do I have children who have enough clothes to wear every day? Do they have enough food to eat? And do they go to appropriate schools to get the basic education? Do we have that? If we don't have the education, we are violating the fundamental duties of our constitution as directed by the directive principles of state policy. That is one. This is what I'm speaking as a lawyer. Now I'm speaking as a citizen of this city and this country. That do we have enough resources in the first place to do that? I think what needs to be done in this scenario is that we reduce the budget for, I'm not saying don't build memorials, do that, but I think get them to shrink them to a size which leaves me enough money to cater to the priorities in the in my backyard. As Faye rightly pointed out, that if I have hungry children in my house, do I want to paint my house? No, I don't. I want to first feed them. That is what I would like to do. There are enough issues in this city that merit money and merit financial consideration than memorials. Just to bring another analogy of the United States, there was a big hue and cry about the amount of money that the US Senate was spending on defense because of all these wars and all these things that it was entering into. And the wisdom, despite the politics and despite the polemics aside between the parties, between the Republican and the Democrats, they focused first and they hammered the Senate on this fact that please allocate this to education. So one of the members out there pointed out that, the big universities have billions of dollars as endowments. Why don't you use that to educate and other poor children? So the person pointed out that this is not an argument to spend money on wars. That is an absolutely feeble and an unfeasible argument.
Shama Kulkarni, trustee of Agni. Shama, where do you stand on this argument of memorials versus starving children and farmers who are committing suicide?
I am absolutely against this very idea of having memorials and spending crores of rupees, like you correctly said, and having children who are dying of hunger, who have farmers who are committing suicide. And I would like to ask the government the question, where are you getting this money from? This money is coming from my taxpayers' money, right? So do I not have a right to question you, to ask you, why are you spending money on memorials for Shivaji, memorials for Ambedkar, and memorials for Balasaheb Thackeray? In the first place, these are all totally politically motivated. You are doing it because you want to keep the Marathas happy, you are doing it because you want to keep the Dalits happy, and now you're doing it because you want to keep the Shiv Sena happy. I also want to ask a question, because I think the BJP person talked, or he just slipped in a word about the coastal road. I would like to ask him that when you build that statue to Shivaji, the Koli community, which is the original community of Mumbai, is going to get affected. And the day that the Bhumi Puja was done for Shivaji's statue, I want to inform you people that the Koli community of Kulaba were not allowed to come out of their houses to protest. If this is what democracy is all about, where you cannot protest or you cannot question where my taxpayers' money is going, then building memorials is actually exploiting me and taking away my taxpayers' money for the wrong reasons. Please use this money. If Baba Saheb Ambedkar himself was alive today, of course, he would be a statue, but he would have strongly objected to this.
उसमें से ऐसी सोच के व्यक्ति हैं, कोई भी परियोजना शासन घोषित करता है और ये उसके विरोध में लग जाते हैं। किसी भी चीज का एग्जांपल कहीं भी देना, नहीं किसी भी चीज का एग्जांपल कहीं पर भी चिपकाना। आपने कहां पर शिवाजी महाराज की स्टैच्यू बन रही है और कहां पर कोली समाज के लोग हैं। ये इस देश में सो कॉल्ड कम्युनिस्ट विचारधारा के लोग, ये देश में सो कॉल्ड इस विचारधारा के लोग इस देश में डैम का विरोध करने के लिए नीचे उतर आते हैं। ये इस देश में अगर कोई परमाणु परियोजना लाए तो उसका विरोध करने के लिए आ जाते हैं। कुछ भी करने प्रोटेस्ट करने के लिए प्रोटेस्ट आप करेंगे, आप देश का नुकसान करेंगे, आप देश के आगे आप चाहते हैं कि ये देश पुरानी तरह से रहे। आप जाते हैं नहीं,
पेट्रियोटिज्म की लेक्चर मत दीजिए।
पेट्रियोटिज्म का देखिए, अभी मैं आपको एक बात
ये हमारा फंडामेंटल राइट है प्रोटेस्ट करना।
आप आपका फंडामेंटल राइट पॉजिटिवली यूज कीजिए, आप आपका फंडामेंटल राइट जो है देश के लिए उपयोग कीजिए, आप आपका फंडामेंटल राइट राज्य के लिए उपयोग कीजिए, आप इस देश के कल्याण के लिए उपयोग कीजिए। आप चाइना ने जो डिसाइड किया वो आप इस देश में मत करिए, रशिया की कम्युनिस्ट पार्टी जो डिसाइड करती है वो आप इस देश में मत करिए। जहां की मेंटालिटी है, जहां से आपके जितने भी सो कॉल्ड जो नेता है वो आप चाहे माओ को मानते होंगे या चाहे आप स्टालिन को मानते होंगे, आप इनको मानते होंगे, तो ये लोग रशिया में खत्म हो चुके हैं और ये लोग चाइना में खत्म हो चुके हैं। इस देश को कोली फिशरमैन से हमारी सबसे बड़ी प्रायोरिटी है।
ये तो
जहां पर शिवाजी महाराज की मूर्ति बन रही है वो इससे बहुत दूर है, उसका इससे कोई लेना देना नहीं है। सेम इसी तरह की एक घटना आपको बताता हूं। जब यहां पर सी लिंक बन रहा था तो वो सी लिंक बांद्रा से लगा करके और साउथ मुंबई तक आने में 1250 करोड़ रुपए में वो पूरा होने वाला था वो परियोजना। एक ऐसे ही किसी ने पिटीशन कर दिया कि उसकी वजह से कोली लोग अफेक्टेड हो जाएंगे। 7 साल तक उस परियोजना को रोक के रखा गया और सिर्फ बांद्रा से लाके माहिम तक ये 1640 करोड़ रुपए में बना। तो आप लोग इस देश के सबसे बड़े आप लोग नुकसान करने वाले लोग हैं जो इस देश की परियोजनाओं का विरोध करते हैं। कोई भी परियोजना आप चाहते नहीं है कि देश विश्व के मानचित्र पर आए, आप मानचित्र पे आए देश, ये आप कभी नहीं चाहते हैं। तो मुझे लगता है कि आपको वापस आपकी सोच के बारे में सोचना चाहिए।
योगेश वर्मा जी आप रुकिए एक मिनट। स्वप्निल कोठारी, my constitution, which is also happens to be Yogesh Verma's constitution, and it also happens to be Shama Kulkarni's constitution allows us the right to protest against something we think is unfair. Now, while the ruling parties at this point might actually get away with calling us names and telling us that we are actually anti-national and giving us regular आपका सुन लिया हमने
आप तो कुछ भी बोल सकते हैं ना आपका टीवी है आपका चैनल है आपका सब कुछ है तो आप कोई भी कुछ भी बोल सकते हैं मैं टाल नहीं रहा हूं आप मेरी बात का जवाब दीजिए आप मेरी बात देश में परियोजनाएं बननी नहीं चाहिए देश में कोई कुछ होना ही नहीं चाहिए आज से इसकी वजह से ये इफेक्ट हो जाएगा इसकी वजह से
कोठारी को जवाब दे दीजिए
रोड मत बनाओ मेट्रो मत बनाओ मोनो मत बनाओ
वर्मा जी you know you don't have to get so excited and so upset.
नहीं मैं excited नहीं होता
नहीं because what I feel
बोलने के लिए बहुत थोड़ा सा समय मिलता है
बोलने तो दीजिए
let me at least finish Mr. Verma. I'll heard you patiently. What I'm trying to say is that you are trying to convince us desperately about this grand idea of yours which you know is making us think that you are not yourself convinced about it.
No, I'm fully convinced about
That's
it.
one.
No, it's not like that. पहले आपको मैं बताना चाहता हूँ
मेरी बात नहीं मेरी बात तो फिनिश करने दीजिए आपने मैंने आपको शांति से एक बार भी मैंने आपको इंटरप्ट नहीं किया आप प्लीज मुझे इंटरप्ट मत कीजिए थैंक यू वेरी मच it is my right to protest it is in as much as howsoever the people may feel that it is an absurd protest. But according to me, it is not an absurd protest, it is an appropriate protest, and every time when a person rakes up an issue about any grand idea of yours, that doesn't mean that that protest is motivated out of political or some traditional considerations. It can stem out of practical economic considerations, as Faye pointed out at the very beginning of the show, a slew of problems that this state is facing. Why do I want to spend this kind of money on this kind of on such an expense, such a huge expense on memorials? What do I wish to memorialize? I'm not saying don't build it, but shrink it to a size, leaving us enough sizable sum to address other measures. I'm only trying to draw your balance sheet a little bit more equitably so as to address all the concerns and all the issues. So please don't tell me that I don't have a right to protest and my protest is...
Faye, there are two things here. First of all, the memorial, Chhatrapati Shivaji's memorial was not mooted by this government. It was mooted by the previous government.
Yes.
And one wonders that what allocation was there. So therefore, when we talk about politicizing, everything is about politics, end of the day. So that having been said, let's look at what is a memorial. Now, when we are doing any memorial, the memorial must balance the need of the people and what these great leaders actually, how they served.
Yes.
So we must give a fitting memorial as to what these great leaders stood for. So when we look at what Shivaji stood for, then we have to look and balance it. However, one is not expecting to go in the medieval side, and I was not going to talk about protests, but a balance must be there. Without the balance, there is an issue. For example, we talked about the Ambedkar Memorial, for example. Think about how Dr. Ambedkar, where he went, imagine that
what he stood for, yes.
What he stood for is one thing, but how he became, he was a poor man, and what enabled him to reach where he did. Can you imagine a scholarship being given and which finds the next Ambedkar? Now that is bringing our country up, because ultimately, unless society progresses, but that doesn't mean that we should sell poverty. That is something horrible, which is what our country has been doing thus far. And memorials are not something which has come up today. Memorials have traditionally been there. We need not go even to any other country. If you look at, Delhi, you will find that national leaders' houses have been turned into memorials. So it is something that has been there, but however the balance
there has to be a list of priorities and balance. Rajiv Mishra, I'm sure you brought in data, Rajiv Mishra. आप योगेश वर्मा जी की जवाब देने. I'll come back to you, Shama. I just want to bring in Rajiv Mishra here. Rajiv.
फी आपने अपने स्टार्टिंग में ही अपने प्रोग्राम के स्टार्टिंग में ही ये बताया कि महाराष्ट्र पर आज 3.6 लाख करोड़ का कर्ज है. उसके बाद आपने जो आंकड़े गिनाए समाज सेवा से संबंधित जितने भी इनके बजट है, चाहे एजुकेशन हो, हेल्थ हो, वुमेन्स डेवलपमेंट हो या पुअर वुमेन्स के हेल्प को लेकर के हो, ये सब आपने जब जितना जो आपने कैलकुलेट किया तो वो सब 4600 करोड़ के आसपास नहीं आते हैं. वो सब मिला देंगी तो भी 4600 करोड़ नहीं आता. नंबर एक बात. नंबर दो बात रही बात कि हमारे जो ग्रेट मैन हैं चाहे शिवाजी हों, अंबेडकर हों या फिर हमारे बाला साहब ठाकरे हों, ये लोगों के ग्रेटनेस को, अगर इनको इनके ग्रेटनेस की चिंता होती तो मैं सबसे पहले शिवाजी पे आता हूं। रायगढ़ फोर्ट हमारे पास है, सिंधुदुर्ग फोर्ट हमारे पास है, रत्नागिरी फोर्ट हमारे पास है। अगर हमको इनके प्रति आस्था होती तो सबसे पहले हम ये कोशिश करते कि इस फोर्ट पर हम कैसे मैक्सिमम पर्यटक को पहुंचा सकें, क्या करें कि जिससे मैक्सिमम पर्यटक इन जगहों पर जाकर के शिवाजी की प्रेरणा ले सकें। ये इनकी तरफ से नहीं किया गया। मुंबई में स्पेशली एक मेमोरियल बनाने की मुझे नहीं लगता कि शिवाजी के लिए जरूरत थी। दूसरा एक बड़ा बात मैं आपको बताना चाहता हूं कि B.R. अम्बेडकर साहब, अगर आपको कुछ करना ही है तो जो बाबा साहब अम्बेडकर का गांव है, सबसे पहले उस गांव को एक आइडियल गांव के रूप में विकसित करो और लोगों को बताओ कि ये बाबा साहब का गांव था, ये है, और बाबा साहब का ये कंसेप्ट है कि भारत का हर गांव कैसे सुख और समृद्धि से जिएगा, कैसे एकात्मकता में जिएगा, कैसे लोगों में आपसी संविधान के प्रति लोगों को एक जागरूकता होगी, आप ये बताने का कोशिश करो। नंबर 3, बाला साहब अगर आज मुंबई में हैं तो मातोश्री किसी परिचय का मोहताज नहीं है। जो पूरे महाराष्ट्र के लोग हैं वो मातोश्री नाम से ही बाला साहब को जानते हैं। आज कहीं पर भी आप किसी गांव खड़े में जाके भी मातोश्री का नाम लेंगे तो बाला साहब।
आपका कहना है there are memorials that already exist. I want to bring in Sudhir here. Sudhir, this is a master stroke by the ruling party because let me point out, on this show we invited all of the other political parties. None of them even want to say a word. So there is no opposition because they are all afraid of the blowback that they might get if they oppose it. So it is a political masterstroke. We need to acknowledge that.
It is a masterstroke, it is true that. But first of all, we have to understand why the BJP, the ruling party, has been doing it. When the BJP came to the power, they started the Statue of Unity, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, in Gujarat. Then Shivaji Memorial, in Hindu Mill, Ambedkar Memorial, Balasaheb Memorial. So why, deliberately BJP has been revoking these emotions? They are playing with the emotions of the people, with a different, irrespective of the caste and community of the people. So they are trying to play with the emotions and to connect the people emotionally rather than focusing the development agenda, which has to be. If you see from when the BJP came to power in Maharashtra in 2.5 years, almost 8,000 farmers has committed suicide, which is the highest number in the last 50 years in Maharashtra. Besides, the state assembly, upper house and lower house, has not been functioning. Why it has not been functioning? Because both the oppositions, Congress and NCP, has been demanding, now today Shiv Sena was joined, demanding the waiving of the farmer loan. Farmer suicide, therefore opposition is demanding farmer way off. Besides, there are no good rates for the farmer crops. Earlier, the cotton was sold 6,000 per quintal. Now it has been sold 4,000 only. The pulses rate onion has been thrown in front of the assembly only by the Raju Shetty and his people. So you can see the plight of the farmer today. Actually, they need to be given the good rate. Narendra Modi, during his Lok Sabha campaign, has promised he will give the existing good price plus 50% profit. What happened with that Swaminathan report? Nothing has been done. If they are really concerned about the farmer, they are really concerned about the son of the soil, first of all, they have to be compensated. The complaint, the grudges of the fishermen, the Koli community is that because of this memorial, the breeding ground, where the breeding ground is important, that will be completely devastated. So they will lose their bread and butter. If you are really concerned about these Kolis, first of all, compensate them, give good job, good,
and also,
everything.
I also want to point out, if we really want to make, our house beautiful, we must remember that Mumbai is the only big city in the world that is pumping its sewage untreated into the ocean. No other city does it. If you want to make this house beautiful, stop throwing your sewage in front of your house. That is something that the government can take up. That is something that is very easy to solve.
Burning issues. Government has to take all burning issues.
देखिए, मुझे लगता है इसका जवाब मैं दूंगा तो अच्छा रहेगा.
जी बोलिए.
नंबर 1, B.R. अम्बेडकर जी की मेमोरियल बनाना, ये पूरे दलित समाज की आज 50 साल से डिमांड थी. नंबर 2, छत्रपति शिवाजी महाराज इस महाराष्ट्र के आराध्य देवत हैं. उनके सारे किलों का रिनोवेशन के लिए एक बहुत बड़ी रकम महाराष्ट्र सरकार ने, देवेंद्र फडणवीस जी ने घोषित की है और सारे किले एक बहुत अच्छे पर्यटन स्थल के रूप में विकसित होने जा रहे हैं। अब तीसरा बाला साहेब ठाकरे, ये इस महाराष्ट्र के आराध्य देवत हैं और ये इस महाराष्ट्र के बहुत बड़े नेता हैं। ये एक बहुत छोटा सा कंट्रीब्यूशन है उनके नाम को। अगर आप हर चीज को नेगेटिव दृष्टिकोण से देखेंगे तो ये देश में कोई नई परियोजना नहीं आएगी। नंबर चौथा, जहां तक किसानों की बात है, किसानों के ऊपर इन 3 सालों में मुख्यमंत्री जी ने जितना काम किया है उतना पिछले 60 साल की सरकार ने काम नहीं किया। मैं आपको आज यहाँ पर बताना चाहता हूँ, यहाँ पर इतना ज़्यादा होर्डिंग होता था। एक वक्त था जब सब लोग चिल्लाते थे कि कांदे का इतना रेट हो गया, दाल की इतने रेट हो गया, सबका ये सबको 2 साल 3 साल तो ये पुराना कचरा साफ करने में लगा। इन सबको होर्डर्स को जेल में बंद करना, इनके ऊपर कार्रवाई करना, ये जो 2.5 साल में जो सरकार ने काम किया है, 60 साल की सरकार और 2.5 साल की सरकार ने जो काम किया है, उसके बावजूद
मुझे थोड़े आंकड़े दे दीजिए। आई लाइक numbers. The numbers make everything clear. Rajiv Mishra, 740 students studying in residential schools across Maharashtra have died of malnutrition and other health-related issues. 552 government-run tribal residential schools in Maharashtra, only 50 get drinking water from the pipeline. In 2013-14, 600 children died of malnourishment in tribal areas, in Melghat tribal area, in one tribal area. In Amravati district, 500 children die on an average every year. 2015-16, 283 people died in Melghat region of malnourishment. The court has pulled up the government and asked why no doctor is available for the treatment of these people in those areas, which means the public health system in our state is not as well funded as it should be. Public health has received an allocation of 1,554 crore rupees from the state government in the last 1 year. That number could be increased if we prioritized and distributed the money more equally. Rajiv Mishra.
फिर जैसे ही आप ये सब आंकड़े इनको गिनाना शुरू करेंगी, वैसे ही आप या तो देशद्रोही हो जाएंगी या आप देश का एक क्रूप चेहरा या बदसूरत चेहरा आप प्रस्तुत कर रही हैं, आपको ये कह दिया जाएगा।
इसलिए कि आप सरकार के जो किए हुए काम हैं उनके बारे में तो चर्चा नहीं करना चाहते।
अब मैं आपको
60 सालों में महिलाओं के लिए घरों में शौचालय नहीं था,
वर्मा जी,
करोड़ों शौचालय सरकार ने बनाया, कभी आप उसके बारे में चर्चा नहीं करोगे। एक बार ये नेशनलिज्म और एंटी नेशनलिज्म ये आपके दिमाग की उपज है या हमारे दिमाग की उपज नहीं है।
एक बार सुन तो
सरकार का विरोध करना, काम करने वाली सरकार का विरोध करना और पुराने 60 साल में जिस सरकारों ने काम नहीं किया उसके बारे में नहीं बोलना। आप आपकी बात बोलिए, लेकिन अगर आप आपकी बात बोलने के साथ साथ में एक टोंट या टीका टिप्पणी करेंगे तो मेरे को बोलना ही पड़ेगा, मेरे को मेरी बात करनी पड़ेगी। आप शौचालय के बारे में क्या कहते हैं? आज जो नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने शौचालय हर घर में बनाने के लिए महिलाओं के लिए शौचालय की बात की, आप उसके विषय में थोड़ा सा कुछ रोशनी डालेंगे तो मुझे अच्छा लगेगा।
क्षमा कुलकर्णी, एक मिनट, क्षमा कुलकर्णी,
आज तक की सरकारों ने उसके ऊपर ध्यान नहीं दिया। आपको माल न्यूट्रिशन मेलघाट की आज की घटना है, मेलघाट 60 सालों की घटना है, फिर भी उसके बावजूद भी हमारे मंत्री वहां पर विजिट किया, वहां पर ज्यादा से ज्यादा फंड देने की कोशिश की। आप हर बातों को हमारी सरकार के इतनी उपलब्धियों को छोड़ करके कुछ पैचेस जहां पर हम पहुंचने में अभी भी कामयाब नहीं हुए, लेकिन वहां पर पहुंचने का पूरा प्रयास कर रहे हैं, उस विषय में आप कुछ नहीं बोलेंगे। आप हमारे गलतियों को पॉइंट आउट कीजिए, लेकिन अगर आप नेशनलिज्म एंटी नेशनलिज्म का एक्स्ट्रा उसके अंदर जैसे गाड़ी के ऊपर एक्स्ट्रा कैरियर लगा देते हैं, ऐसा करेंगे तो ठीक नहीं होगा।
एक मिनट, क्षमा कुलकर्णी जी, मुंबई हैज बीन डिक्लेयर्ड एंटी outdoor or open defecation free. These are the numbers we're talking about as we're talking about the number of toilets that have been actually installed. I have trouble believing this data that is coming out of the government, because every time I come to office every day, or every time someone takes a train, we know that Mumbai is not open defecation free. But answer this question, Shama. I know you've been dying to, about the fact that every time we ask a question, we're seen as stopping good work. Address that issue, because I'm sure there are a lot of people at home who are also asking that question. Why are you constantly standing in the way of progress? Answer that question.
That's exactly, yeah. We are not, okay, we are not standing in the way of progress. We want progress to happen, but progress does not mean memorials. Progress means the children being educated. Progress means the people being fed. Progress means that the women get proper education. Progress means that the farmer is compensated. That is called progress. They are talking about people coming from abroad to come to India and to see the memorials. It would be a shame if they came here to see the memorials and it is spread all over the world that we've done it because we had the money for the memorial, but we did not have the money to feed the poor children, malnourished children? That is the question that I'm asking. And every time I protest, it does not mean I'm anti-national. It also does not mean that governments in the past have done anything good. Let's not make two wrongs don't make a right. The previous governments also made mistakes. This government is also making mistakes. It's my taxpayers' money that you are using, and I have every right to question how you use the money.
Swapnil Kothari.
So please, I am requesting you, stop making it political. This is not a political issue. This is an issue where the taxpayers' money
One second. Radhakrishna's on the phone line. Radhakrishna's on the phone line.
For the benefit of the Mumbaikars and not for memorials.
Radhakrishna's on the phone line. Radhakrishna, go ahead. We can hear you.
Madam, they are talking about Chhatrapati Shivaji and Baba Saheb Ambedkar, but none of the political party follow even one way where they are preached what to practice. Samartha Ramdas told Chhatrapati Shivaji how to run a government, and he was running the government accordingly. These people are pointing fingers at Shivaji Maharaj, but they are doing their own act. They are doing all this for public, this thing politically motivated memorials and other things.
In fact,
one action they have to follow Chhatrapati Shivaji, that Maharashtra government would have been gone much beyond all other states in India.
Swapnil Kothari, let me point out another, and I like to take refuge in numbers because I believe numbers are very strong. Do you know that in the latest report, 70% of the women in the state of Maharashtra do not work? 70%. And what was the allocation to women providing easy loan with nil interest to women of self-help groups in the last 1 year? 10 crore rupees. 10 crore rupees is what we set aside to help more women in Maharashtra become employed and earn their own money. And imagine if such a large chunk of our population is not working, then that much GDP we're losing out on. And instead of focusing on that and making these women self-sufficient, we've moved the money elsewhere. And my argument again, Yogesh Verma, let me point it out to you and to everybody who's listening. We are not saying don't do a memorial. We are questioning the prioritization of the money. If we have, and I'm so glad to know that we have 4,600 crore rupees, because I was looking at the numbers of debt and I thought we don't have that money. So it turns out that we do have that money. Let's then prioritize where that money is being spent and how much money we are allocating to the memorials. Nobody is saying don't do the memorials. Everybody believes that it's a good idea. Swapnil.
Yeah, as a lawyer, I would answer that question that I would suggest to the government, the state government, that please look at Article 15(3) of the Constitution, which says that the state shall take ameliorative measures to boost the progress of women. That's one. As a citizen, I would say that when 70%, as you brightly pointed out, are sitting at home or are not getting enough adequate resources to pursue their dreams, and only a 10 crore dispensation has been done, then I think that
allocation.
really... Allocation.
We don't know the
exactly.
dispensation.
Yeah, exactly, an allocation, true. Well, I'm glad about that. So only allocation has been done. We don't even know about the dispensation. So then that really calls and begs for the question that, you know, we are not having our priorities right. And one request that I would really ask Mr. Verma, मेरी आपसे एक दरख्वास्त है कि अगर हम यहाँ पे आपकी कोई भी अगर आपको ऐसे लग रहा है कि कोई आलोचना कर रहे हैं तो आप इस तरह से मत देखिए, उसको एक पॉजिटिव फीडबैक लिए देखिए कि बीजेपी ने कुछ तो अच्छा किया है, कुछ उपलब्धियां हुई हैं जिसकी वजह से हम आपसे कुछ अपेक्षा रख रहे हैं. आप उसको उस तरह से देखिए, क्योंकि अगर आप एकदम निकम्मे होते या नठारे होते तो हम कुछ एक्सपेक्टेशन रखते ही नहीं. इट्स बिकॉज यू हैव डन गुड थिंग्स, जो आपने मेजर सारे पॉइंट आउट किए, इसलिए हम आपसे एक्सपेक्टेशन रख रहे हैं.
In fact, you know, Swapnil,
नजरिए से देखेंगे तो आप थोड़ा सही जवाब.
एक पॉइंट करने दीजिए. My producer Kavita has made an excellent point, and I want to share it with our audience and especially with Mr. Yogesh Verma. The three individuals that we want to honor, Shivaji, Ambedkar, and Balasaheb Thackeray, all protested, questioned the status quo, and changed the status quo by insisting on a change. What greater way to honor them than to safeguard the protest and the right to protest and listen to the people who are asking you for a change, Yogesh Verma. Let's honor these individuals by listening to the people who are questioning the government.
मैडम, मुझे वापस एक बात बोलनी है.
जी.
भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार एक पारदर्शी सरकार है, यहाँ पर जो इस समाज का सबसे निचले तबके का व्यक्ति सीधा जाकर के मुख्यमंत्री से मिल सकता है. एक यंग मुख्यमंत्री, एक पढ़ा लिखा मुख्यमंत्री इस प्रदेश को मिला है. एक प्रोग्रेसिव सोच का मिनिस्ट्री इस महाराष्ट्र को मिली है. और सब मिल करके दिन रात काम कर रहे हैं। मुख्यमंत्री रात को 3 बजे सोते हैं, सुबह 6:30 बजे फिर अपने ऑफिस में होते हैं। आप मुझे एक बात बताइए, एक व्यक्ति जो 18 घंटे काम कर रहा है, और अकेले मुख्यमंत्री ही नहीं, आप देखेंगे तो वो ना सोने देते हैं, ना सोते हैं, ना सोने देते हैं। आप देखेंगे कि सुबह 6 बजे उनका कोई ना कोई कैबिनेट मिनिस्टर उनके पास बैठा होगा, रात को 1:30 बजे तक पुलिस के अधिकारी उनके साथ बैठते हैं। समस्याएं 60 साल में इतनी बड़ी, इतनी जटिल है, एक दिन में कुछ नहीं हो सकता है। ये तो उन सब चीजों की शुरुआत है, और भारतीय जनता पार्टी का पूरा प्रयास, पूरे मंत्रिमंडल का और मोदी जी के आशीर्वाद से भगवान ने चाहा तो सब चीज अच्छी होगी, लोगों के मन के मुताबिक ये सरकार चलेगी। जो भी गलती करेगा उसे बख्शा नहीं जाएगा। कोई भी क्षेत्र जो किसी भी रीजन से रह गया होगा, आप सभी के कहने से उस क्षेत्र में भी सरकार जाकर के अच्छे से अच्छा काम करने की कोशिश करेगी।
इसीलिए बोल रहा हूं कि थोड़ा पैसा कम कर दीजिए ना इसमें। ये नहीं सोच सकते
एक स्वस्थ परंपरा।
योगेश वर्मा जी, 2 दिन पहले मेरी बात मिसेस अमृता फडणवीस जी से हुई थी। उन्होंने ये भी बताया, शी टॉक्ड अबाउट हाउ हार्ड हर हस्बैंड इज वर्किंग, एंड आई कंप्लीटली एक्सेप्ट दैट वी हैव समवन हु इज हार्ड वर्किंग, एंड आई अप्रिशिएट ऑल ऑफ द गुड वर्क बीइंग डन बाय द गवर्नमेंट. वी आर नॉट टेकिंग अवे एट ऑल फॉर अ मोमेंट for appreciation for our chief minister and his entire cabinet, that I know for a fact, because this is what we do every day, we track, we know for a fact that they're working very hard and they're all well meaning. But the question we're asking today is simply this: if we are ready as a state to spend, and I'm going to keep coming back to the question because I don't want to get derailed by the politics of it, if we are spending 4,600 crore rupees on 3 collective memorials, could that money have been better utilized? Can we still, is it too late? Can we stop now and reutilize the money? Can we, for such a forward-thinking government, maybe conduct a poll where people vote by SMS or by WhatsApp and tell you whether or not they really want this much money, or they believe it will be better utilized for education, for farmers or for children? If we do that, then maybe we can find out what people really want.
मैं इसका बहुत अलग जवाब देना चाहता हूँ। पिछली सरकारों के आप भ्रष्टाचार का इतिहास देखेंगे तो 5-5 लाख करोड़ रुपए लोगों की तिजोरी में गए हैं, और भ्रष्टाचार से इस देश में लीकेज से खत्म हो चुके हैं। अगर हमने इन 5 वर्षों में इस पैसे का नहीं, अब मैं आप पूरी बात सुनिए, अगर हमने 5 वर्षों में इस लीकेज को रोका तो ये एक कमाऊ पूत जैसी सरकार होगी। सरकार इतना पैसा लेकर आएगी कि ये तो बहुत छोटे छोटे खर्चे होंगे सारे काम करने के बाद। आप हम पे विश्वास रखिए, आप हम पे विश्वास रखिए। आप ये मत सोचिए कि यहाँ पर इतना सारा दे दिया है तो बाकी सब जगह पर एकदम सूखा और बिल्कुल ऐसी परिस्थिति कर देंगे कि जहां पर कोई फंड ही नहीं होगा। हर चीज के लिए जितने पैसे की आवश्यकता है उससे 20-25% गुना ज्यादा पैसे का प्रोविजन किया जाएगा। जैसे जैसी चीजें लोगों के आंखों के सामने आती जाएगी, सरकार के आंखों के सामने आएगी, वो चीजों के ऊपर जरूर काम होगा। मैं आपको एश्योर करना चाहता हूं आपके माध्यम से।
मुझे ये बताइए कि एजुकेशन के फंड में से आपने 1,690 करोड़ रुपीस जो एलोकेट किए थे 15-16 में, उसको 700 करोड़ रुपीस क्यों काटा गया? फिर देखिए, आप मुझे ये बता दीजिए।
आपने बहुत अच्छी बात पूछी, मैं चाहता था कि आप ऐसी बात पूछो। आपको पता है ये पैसा, ये जो ऊपर नहीं, देखिए आपको मालूम नहीं होगा कि 20 साल से जो बच्चा हर दिन स्कूल जाता है उसको 1 रुपया उसके हाथ में रखने का एक प्रोविजन सरकारों ने बना के रखा, जो आज तक किसी बच्चे के हाथ में नहीं लगा। ये सारा का सारा भ्रष्टाचार में चला जाता था। ऐसी कितनी सारी योजनाएं ऐसे रखी थी जिससे सिर्फ और सिर्फ भ्रष्टाचार होता था। सिर्फ उन भ्रष्टाचार की योजनाओं को स्क्रैप डाउन करके जिसको रियल में जरूरत है, ऐसी चीजों को सामने रख करके इसमें कोई जो भी कटौती हुई है वो ऐसी अनावश्यक योजनाओं की कटौती हुई है।
पिछले साल महाराष्ट्र में 17,000 women and children have died भूखे।
नहीं, मैं इस आंकड़े पे विश्वास नहीं करता। मैं इस आंकड़े पे विश्वास नहीं करता। मैं भी महाराष्ट्र के राजनीति में आज से नहीं, मैं इस आंकड़े के ऊपर आप मेरे सामने आंकड़ा रख रही है। आप माननीय इस पैनल
सर, ये हाई कोर्ट की ऑर्डर से हमने उठाया। हाई कोर्ट हैज आस्क्ड फॉर एन आंसर।
हां, मुझे ऐसा लगता है मुझे इसको वापस से एक बार तय करना चाहिए। लेकिन 17,000 लोग माल न्यूट्रिशन से मर गए, ये मैं विश्वास नहीं कर सकता इस आंकड़े पे।
जब भी आप समाज सेवा और मेमोरियल के बीच में आप तुलना कर रही हैं, तब ये पारदर्शिता पे और देवेंद्र फडणवीस साहब के नाम पे और मोदी जी के नाम पे बहुत सारी बातें करने लगे हैं। मैं आपको बताना चाहता हूं कि जिन लोगों ने देवेंद्र फडणवीस साहब को कोई एप्लीकेशन नहीं लिखा होगा वो शायद इनकी बातों को विश्वास कर लें, लेकिन जो लोग देवेंद्र फडणवीस साहब के साथ ईमेल पे या एप्लीकेशन दे करके या शिकायत पत्र दे करके लगातार संपर्क में, उन्हें पता है कि ये गवर्नमेंट कितना अच्छा काम कर रही है। अभी आपको एक बड़ा उदाहरण मैं बताना चाहता हूं। मैंने सुप्रीम कोर्ट का ऑर्डर है, सुप्रीम कोर्ट के 3 सदस्यीय बेंच का ऑर्डर है ऑनलाइन लॉटरी को बैन करने का, और उसमें क्लियर लिखा हुआ है कि ऑनलाइन लॉटरी इज ए कंप्लीट गैम्बलिंग। ये सारा चीज मैंने देवेंद्र फडणवीस साहब को पूरे सुप्रीम कोर्ट के ऑर्डर के साथ ऑनलाइन लॉटरी पर बैन लगाने की बात की कि महाराष्ट्र में आज गांव खेड़े में ऑनलाइन लॉटरी की स्टॉल खुल चुके हैं, जिससे किसानों की जो आत्महत्या आप देख रहे हैं, ये कर्ज के अलावा ये भी एक बहुत बड़ा कारण है कि उनके घर घर में जुआ पहुंचा दिया आपने। इसको बंद किया जाए। ये मैं पिछले मैं बोल रहा हूं 2 साल से।
Let's focus on the problem. I'm focusing on the problem. One second.
देखो,
Oliver is on the phone line. One second. Oliver, go ahead very quickly.
Yeah, he's completely going off. He's going totally off.
Oliver, very quickly, go ahead.
See, after seeing this program, this is the first time I'm looking into the debate which is going on. I would like to question Mr. Yogesh Verma. Yogesh Verma ji, we have seen this, day and night, this politics going on into what you call, we are just seeing into toilets. Only one thing I request to you and the government of Mumbai as well as the Central to please take care of the farmers. If you take care of the farmers, I think so we'll get the, a very good, an economical, food, not only here in every part of India. So I wish you all the best since you are booming down all throughout India. But my one request, you go across anyway, please let us not bring the toilet issue in the middle. Let us bring into, help the farmer. I request you once more again, we are the common persons of Mumbai. See, we are more learned, we are systemized, we are voting for you. But we vote on only one thing. If you take care of the farmers, but financially everything will work out.
Okay. In fact, let me just very, very well put. Take care of the farmers, and I'll take this, over to Shama Kulkarni, and I'm reading out the numbers, and I'm reading this out for your benefit, Yogesh Verma. Voicing concern over the death of 17,000 people due to malnourishment in tribal areas of Maharashtra in the last 1 year, the Bombay High Court on Wednesday, and this is the 15th of September 2016, asked the state government to take immediate steps to tackle the problem. The division bench of Justices V.M. Khanade and Swapna Joshi were hearing the PILs regarding malnourishment of children in the Vidarbha region and other tribal areas of Maharashtra. It was through an RTI that said that the government numbers said that 17,000 people, including women and children, had died due to malnourishment in the state in the last 1 year. This is where the numbers are coming from the government and from the Bombay High Court. Shama Kulkarni.
This is coming from the Bombay High Court, and what I can't understand is why is the BJP spokesperson not answering to the point? Your question to all of us again and again has been, are we supposed to spend money on memorials when the state is in debt? Are we supposed to spend on memorials when there are farmers that are dying and children are dying of malnourishment? That is not being addressed at all. I don't want to know, oh, this is what has happened and the previous government did this. That's all unimportant now. The important thing is my taxpayers' money going to be spent for the right reasons, for the improvement of the people of Maharashtra, or is it going to be spent for tourists to come to Mumbai and see a statue of Shivaji's? What is more important? Where are our priorities? That is my question.
किसान ये इस सरकार की सबसे बड़ी प्रायोरिटी रही है। माल न्यूट्रिशन के ऊपर आपने देखा इन 4 महीनों में, और भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार ने कलेक्टर को खुद वहां भेज करके और ये सारे क्षेत्रों को आइडेंटिफाई किया और बहुत बड़ी रकम इसके लिए अलॉट की है। ये इसी वर्ष की बात है। पंकजा मुंडे वहां पर गई, सारे वहां के जो भी पालक मंत्री थे वो पर्सनली उन्होंने विजिट की। कई जगह पर खुद देवेंद्र फडणवीस जी वहां गए और वहां के कलेक्टर्स को उस मंथ के अंदर रकम अलॉट की गई।
पब्लिक हेल्थ की सेंटर्स लगे सर।
देखिए जैसे जैसे चीजें इस सरकार के आंखों के सामने आएगी वैसे वैसे उन सब चीजों का 100% संज्ञान लेकर के उसके ऊपर कार्रवाई की जाएगी और जितनी जरूरत है उससे भी ज्यादा पैसा उसको अलॉट किया जाएगा। आप विश्वास रखिए,
पैसे तो अनलिमिटेड नहीं होते स्टेट के पास, पैसे अनलिमिटेड नहीं होते।
सरकार पूरे वर्ल्ड के बिजनेस को महाराष्ट्र के अंदर इनवाइट कर रही है, वो यहाँ पर आकर के कल कारखाने खेती के अंदर कई क्षेत्रों के अंदर इजराइल के साथ टाई अप करके
इनकी बात
और सरकार काम कर रही है।
इनकी बात सुनिए।
We have been talking a great deal about the money and the money amounts, etc. Now, allocation, one is the budgetary provision, which is what we are talking about. But if we have policies which are not going to make that budget properly usable, then there is a problem. Because when you're talking about malnutrition, farmers, I mean, I've been hearing so many of these issues coming in, but public health care, which is where women and children are greatly affected, it would be interesting to know that how are the policies structured? Because you may allot a great deal of money. Yes, everything is taxpayers' money. End of the day, we are all paying, whoever is paying taxes, that's their money. But however, we have also chosen our government. So it is the government's duty to ensure that the budget is properly dispensed with based on a policy which is advantageous to the people whom it is meant for.
In fact, you know, before we wrap up this conversation, Idani, I want to bust one more assumption and one more argument that has been made, which is that so many people will flock to the memorial to see it, that tourism alone will pay for the memorial. Let me point out to you that the most attractive tourist site we have in the country is the Taj Mahal in Agra.
Yes.
The Taj Mahal gets a total, and this is not net gross, we're not counting the cost. The Taj Mahal makes 20 crore rupees a year in its best year.
नहीं आपको लग रहा है कि शिवाजी महाराज की शिवाजी महाराज की चित्र को लगा करके हम वो उसकी टिकट बेचेंगे और
if tourism were to make 20 crore rupees here, it would take 180 years. It would take 180 years
आप इतने बड़े महापुरुषों को इस तरह का प्रश्न पूछ करके आप अपमान कर रही हैं।
अच्छा।
आप ताजमहल का और शिवाजी महाराज का कंपैरिजन कर रही हैं। आप ताजमहल का और बाबा साहब अम्बेडकर का अपमान कर रही हैं। आप तो इस पूरे देश के लोगों का मुझे लगता है कि अपमान हो जाएगा। आप ऐसा मत करिए। ये दो अलग चीजें हैं।
Don't make it emotional. Don't make it emotional. We're talking about the money.
टिकट नहीं ले रहे हैं। ये उसके मेंटेनेंस के लिए लोगों से टिकट किया जाएगा। ये उनको शिवाजी महाराज के दर्शन करने की टिकट है।
This is a perfect example of twisting around the argument.
ट्विस्टिंग कौन कर रहा है? ये लोग देख रहे हैं।
He wants to fix his own narrative.
नहीं आप बहुत अच्छा नैरेटिव करते हैं साहब।
I think BJP guys
बहुत अच्छा नैरेटिव करते हैं।
they have by-hearted. They have by-hearted.
आप ये बताना चाहते हैं कि शिवाजी महाराज को देखने के लिए वो टिकट लगेगी। बाबा साहब अम्बेडकर को देखने के लिए
point out, Yogesh Verma, one of the arguments that came out of your state government.
सोच गलत है।
One of the arguments that came, this argument, by the way, came from the state government. I did not make it up. Sudhir, you want to second?
You are absolutely right.
Yes.
Because whatever you are saying, it has been said by the ministers and the people who are heading that Chhatrapati Shivaji project. When the people said why you are spending the money, then the people who are heading the minister and they said that this entire amount will be recovered by tourism only. Therefore, this number were put up. Therefore, the blame has to go to the BJP minister only, not any normal person. And as I said, BJP guys are very expert to framing the narrative and by-hearting some specific word. Nationalism, Congress bashing. I don't know how long they will survive on the Congress bashing. Now they have to perform.
आपको कांग्रेस से बहुत प्रेम होगा उसका खत्म हो गई।
See, let me just point out here. We have to unfortunately wrap up this conversation. I want to point out here that we're staying with the numbers. We're not getting confused by the emotions of it. Simply numbers. There are numbers that have been proven of the number of children who have died because they didn't have food to eat in our state. How can we sleep at night? How can we sleep at this?
Why? Why did that happen?
Why did that happen? And why can't we be more responsible about what we're spending? That's the only question.
And does Maharashtra want to be the #1 state of this country, which it used to be? It's no longer there at the moment.
That's another 1 hour debate that we can get into. But we have to wrap up this conversation. But if you have an opinion, you know how you can get in touch with us. On my screen right now, our contact details. The question, and I keep reminding our viewers, should not be emotional, should not be political. It's about money. It's about budgeting. It's about planning. It's what we do in our houses every month. This much comes in, what do you spend it on? We are simply asking that the government ask themselves that same question. If you are currently in debt of 3.6 lakh crore rupees, where is the 4,600 rupees going to even come from? If you can raise 4,600 crore rupees in spite of being in debt, then shouldn't you use that money better to the areas that really, really need your help? Things like irrigation, children, malnourishment, and of course, women's rights. That's the simple question. Unfortunately, we still don't have a valid answer. Thanks for watching.